Can you hear me? Hi, Rakesh. Hi, Soumya. Oh, you cannot mute yourself. But I can still see that you have joined. We'll just wait for other participants to join, please. Welcome, chat. Give it a time when others will join. Just give 5 minutes for all the other participants to join. Thank you so much for joining, Rakesh, Nalla. You all can chat. Okay. So I'm saying hi to everybody. Can you just confirm if you are able to hear me? Okay. Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining. I'm just waiting for a few more participants to join, then we'll start in another 5 minutes. Is that fine with everybody? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for confirming. Nice, nice. So I've just enabled chat for now. Okay. Definitely, later in the session, I'm going to unmute everybody during the Q&A session because this session is only for 90 minutes. So I wanted to, share my thoughts first. And then later part of the session, I can definitely, unmute everybody and hear from you on the feedback and any questions and answer sessions what we had. Okay. You are able to hear echo. Everybody is hearing echo or only Amit has a problem? Okay. So, Amit, maybe you are having two different systems with you. Yeah, if you can, you know, if you can go to a separate place, I think that would be better. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Right. So, just 2 more minutes and then we start. Okay. I know it's Sunday and, thank you so much for taking your time today to spend some time in learning about Six Sigma, specifically on the green belt part. So, I will introduce myself in a minute or so. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to start now. Okay, thank you so much, first of all, for joining this session. Okay, this is a 90-minute session. Let me introduce myself. I am Abhijit, and I'm a Six Sigma professional. I am a Six Sigma black belt, Lean Six Sigma master black belt, and a PMP certified professional. And I have around 19 plus years of experience in multi-industry. I worked in manufacturing, I worked in finance domain and insurance. Uh, I have worked in, mm, you know, IT everywhere. A lot of different projects I've done, right? So, and most of the projects which I've done has delivered measurable impacts and real business impact per se. I had a privilege of training over 500 plus professionals globally and mentoring them uh, so that they could solve problems as a business leaders or a process leaders. And I have personally led 100 plus successful Six Sigma projects, which has driven efficiency, reduced cost, and improved performance. And I do not teach theory directly. I basically guide professionals to apply Six Sigma in their own workplace, which helps them create value for their organization. And what again sets me apart is that I combine hands-on execution experience with structured, actionable teaching. And when I train, I do not you do not just learn tools, right? You learn how leaders think, analyze, and deliver results. And for me, I have stood in the boardrooms and I have faced business critical challenges and turned data into decisions that drive real profit and efficiency. So, so the intent is not just getting a certificate, right? It is about becoming a professional that organizations trust. And and in this session, uh, my perspective would be to give you, you know, a download of how a professional Six Sigma green belt should think, at a very, very high level again, right? So, good afternoon, everybody. Before we begin, I want you to think about one thing, okay? How many of you solve the same problem again and again at work, just in different form, right? So, have you had a chance of, today you solved something, again, three months down the line or few weeks down the line, the same problem occurs? Have you had some experiences like that which you can share in the chat? Okay. Thank you, thank you. So it is not about fixing problems temporarily. Six Sigma, that power it gives is that whenever you'll implement Six Sigma methodically, you eliminate the issues coming permanently. So it is for today. Again, it is not a normal training. This is how you know a high performing professional will think and solve business problem. So whether you are from manufacturing, IT, projects, quality or operations, DMAC applies to you. And when I say DMAC, it is a mindset, it is not a tool, and I'll talk about it in few slides. Okay. So why Six Sigma matters today? So many people think that Six Sigma is old. I basically can prove that it has become more powerful today, because today mistakes are expensive. you know one defect can mean loss of customer trust. One delay can mean a loss of business. And Six Sigma gives you the control in a chaotic business environment. So the question is, why process improvement is important? Because every organization is running on processes, and then every process is either helping the business, or in worst case is silently damaging it. So when processes are weak, the cost will increase, the delay will happen, and the customers will get frustrated. So, and eventually leading to employees getting stressed as well. So process improvement is not optional today. It is a survival. So what is Six Sigma? Six Sigma is a structured, data-driven approach to improve processes. It does not depend on emotions. It does not depend on opinions. It depends on facts. And that is why organizations trust Six Sigma professionals. General question, right? This comes across all the implementations which we do, or you would be hearing everywhere, either in LinkedIn or somewhere, right? People call themselves as Lean Six Sigma practitioners, Six Sigma practitioners. So there is a slight difference between Lean and Six Sigma, which I wanted to bring about here, right? So Lean and Six Sigma both improve processes, but they focus on different problems. Like Lean is about speed and efficiency, and it helps remove the waste. It makes processes faster and simpler, and it answers the question, how can we do it with less time and less effort? That is what Lean is. Six Sigma, on the other hand, is about quality and accuracy. It reduces defects and variation, and it makes processes consistent and reliable. It also answers the question, how can we do this right every time? Lean, on the other hand, it improves flow. Six Sigma, it improves precision. When we combine both, we get Lean Six Sigma. So, what is Lean Six Sigma? It basically talks about doing processes fast, with high quality, with minimum errors. And in business language, Lean saves time, Six Sigma saves cost. and together they save the business. So there is a belt structure, right, which generally follows, this can be very easily be, you know, parallelly discussed along with the belt what we have in karate, right? Yellow belt, green belt, black belt, master black belt, right? There is a master black belt as well, over and above black belt, what you get in the karate, right? So yellow belt is basically about the awareness that you are basically a team member in a Six Sigma project, right? You are aware of the processes which a Six Sigma project should have, right? And you are just being there as a member. Okay. So green belt is basically a practitioner, is at a practitioner level, and they run small to medium projects which uses core Six Sigma tools and which delivers measurable improvements, which is ideal for working professionals. Black belt is basically a project leader who leads high impact business projects, and they are equipped with advanced statistical tools. And in a couple of the projects, the black belts, they mentor the green belts, which drives strategic improvements. Master black belt is basically a mentor and an expert who designs organizational capability through doing strategic projects for Six Sigma, and they coach the black belts, and they are the highest technical authority. But again, Six Sigma is not about belts per se. Okay, and they represent the capability to solve bigger problems. So DMAC, okay? DMAC stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So what is DMAC? It is basically a backbone of Six Sigma. What is it define basically says what is the problem, measure says how big is the problem, analyze says why it is happening, improve says how do we fix it, and control is basically how do we make sure that the improvements what we are done are sustained. So in simple words, but this is how the framework looks like. So, why most problem solving fails is because mostly the teams directly jump into solutions. They say, let's change the process, let's add more people, let's buy new software. That is not problem solving, that is guessing. Okay. But DMAG, it replaces guessing with logic. So DMAC is not only for quality people, it is for the leaders, for the managers, and for the professionals who want control over outcomes. So when we use DMAC, we speak the language of business. So how to look at DMAC? DMAC is like a continuous loop. Like define, it gives us direction. Measure, it gives us truth, okay, where we stand right now. Analyze, it gives us clarity, what to focus on. Improve gives results, right? Means once we have identified what to focus on, we start putting solutions to it. So that is what improves it. And control, it gives the stability. So if we miss one step, the improvement will basically collapse. So talking about the real life application of DMAC in manufacturing, DMAC can be used to reduce the defect. In IT, it can be used to reduce the rework. In projects, it can control delays, and in services, it can improve customer experience. So different domains, but same thinking, and that's the reason DMAC is applicable for all kind of businesses. So now let's consider the most important phase of DMAC, because which is define. Okay, so because if this phase is weak, everything else will become weak. This is where professionals are separated from average performers. So define phase is basically the foundation for success, and let me say it very clearly: if you define the wrong problem, even the best solution will become useless. So that is where the define phase is, where the professionals separate symptoms from real problems. Most people they describe problems emotionally, and Six Sigma describes problems in business language. That is the difference between an employee and a problem solver, basically. Okay, so what happens in define phase? In define phase, we answer three questions. What exactly is the problem? Why is a problem for the business? And who is affected by it? If we cannot get these answers clearly, we are not defining the problem properly, and hence we are not ready to improve as well. So, problem statement is not a complaint. Okay, it is basically a measurable business issue. So instead of saying delivery is slow, we say 30% of the orders are delayed beyond SLA by more than 2 days. So what it basically does is it helps us define a problem in a proper manner, which you can see here in the slide, right? The statement is too many defects. It is very vague. You cannot measure. We are not talking about how much defects we are having, and it lacks scope as well. Where it is happening, when it is happening, and all. But a good problem statement is like defect rate in line A increased from 3% to 7% between January to March, impacting delivery SLA. So basically, it is very specific. It is basically talking about which line is getting impacted, and then it is measurable. What is the percentage it is telling? During what period it happened? It's talking about that as well. And it is talking about the business impact as well, right? How it is impacting the, in this case, the delivery SLA. So if a problem statement is defined clearly, half of the solution lies there. So that is where it is extremely important to have a very well defined problem statement. Very important deliverable for the defined phase is getting a project charter done, right? Project charter is where the problem is it basically has a five or six different uh, different attributes which needs to be defined. Like problem statement, we need to define the problem statement, the scope, uh, the goal, what we want to achieve out of this project, right? That needs to be defined as well. What are the boundaries of the project, which is the scope of the project, that needs to be defined. And also, by when what does the timeline of the project look like? So, by when we need to start, by when we need to finish, and who are the initial team members who need to get involved in the project. So that is basically represented as part of a project charter, which gets reviewed at every gate, and it is basically a live document. Okay, so as and when there is a review which happens on each of the project phases, the project charter gets defined. It is a live document. Okay. So it basically, like I mentioned, it defines the scope, objective, timeline, and responsibility. And without a charter, the project will drift and it will fail. Very important part of the project charter is the business case. Okay. So what exactly is a business case? Simply put, it is an answer to a very simple question. Why should we do this project? And that's it, right? So it's a story which explains why an idea matters, what it will deliver, and why it's worth the investment. So think of it like this. A business case is your bridge from idea to action. It's not just about spreadsheet and numbers, it's about showing value, impact, and alignment with bigger company goals. So, a strong business case will focus on three things. First is the financial impact. How will this project affect cost, revenue, or return? Or the customer impact, like how it will make the lives of our customers busy, better, faster, or easier. And the third is the strategic importance on how does it help us achieve our long-term vision or stay ahead of the competition. So, a business case, it basically helps a leader answer a simple but critical question. Is this project worth it? Do we actually need to spend a time on it? or it's just and it is really creating a value, or it's just an activity. When we hear someone say that a business case, think of it more than a document. Okay, so think of it as a story which convinces, aligns, and drives decisions. So, because without a solid business case, even the best ideas will struggle to see the results, right? So, it is important that the business case is well defined and it is actually adding value, because this is where you will get, or the organization gets the funding, or for that matter, the required attention for us to drive those projects. What is the voice of a customer? So, a voice of the customer, it basically tells us what truly matters to the customer and not what we think. But the customer actually experiences. Okay, so we may think that customer is, is thinking something different, but customers, when they speak out, they basically talk about the emotions, what may be there, right, while speaking out. So, Six Sigma, it always starts with the customer. What is a CTQT? CTQ tree is basically called as a critical to quality tree. And at its core, a CTQ tree, it helps us answer a simple question. What really matters to our customer? It's about breaking down their broad expectations into measurable requirements that drive performance. This is how it works basically. So imagine that your customer says, I want a product that's reliable. That's a high level need, right? But a CTQ tree will help us take that statement and break it down into specific measurable elements. For example, reliable could mean fewer breakdown, faster repair time, or longer warranty period. And each of these will become a critical to quality characteristic that we can measure and improve. So we start at the top with customer need and then break it into sub needs and finally translate those into measurable requirements. This structure will help the teams focus on what truly impacts customer satisfaction instead of guessing or assuming. So, why does this matter? Because in any improvement project, we want to work on the things that really drive value and not just what's convenient or easy. So CTQ tree will basically align teams, improve decision making, and ensure our efforts lead to better products, happier customers, and tangible results. So we need to remember that CTQ tree is not just a diagram, okay? It is a roadmap from customer voice to measurable quality, which guides our project towards meaningful impact. So here you can see in this slide, right? The requirement is like, I want my support issues to be resolved quickly, which are driven by agent competence and knowledge, resolution process efficiency, and system or tool availability. The CTQ matrix, which can be derived from this, is like, say, for example, agent competence and knowledge is like what metric we need to measure. Like training assessment score, it needs to be like 90%, just for an example. Resolution process efficiency, what is the average handling time right now? Is it less than 5 minutes? And system tool availability. So system uptime, is it greater than 99.9%? Right? So these are the CTQ metrics which gets defined. Why CTQ tree? Again, this is basically about translating the emotions into something measurable. SIPOC, we hear about it, right? A lot of times people talk about SIPOC. So it's basically uh, uh, incredibly powerful tool which helps in the process improvement. So the SIPOC diagram, it stands for, SIPOC generally stands for supplier, input, process, output, and customer. And think of it as a high level map of any process from start to finish. It's like taking a bird's eye view to understand how things flow and where value is getting created. So here how it works, we start with suppliers who provide the inputs we need. Then input basically says what material, information, or resources go into the process. Then process itself says what are the key steps we take to transform those inputs into outputs. And after that, outputs says what do we deliver, whether it is a product, service, or result. And finally, customers who receive output and benefit from the output, who receive the output and get benefited out of it. So why is SIPOC so important? First of all, it clarifies the scope of the process, so teams don't get lost in the unnecessary details. Secondly, it aligns everyone, right from suppliers to end customers, on what really matters from value perspective. And also, the third one is that it identifies gaps or opportunities for improvement by showing how input flow through the process to create value. So, in short, SIPOC diagram is more than just a chart. It is a simple visual tool that ensures everyone understands the process, the stakeholders, and the critical elements that drive quality and performance. So when we use SIPOC at the start of any improvement project, we basically define the entire value in terms of the the value which the project is and scoping of the value of the project is what it basically says. Okay, so it basically gives us a helicopter view of the process, and in the single slide, we understand the entire system. That's the output of a SIPOC, right? So before we even go to measure phase, let me talk about the summary for the, to summarize define phase, right? Define phase basically it builds the clarity and it prevents confusion, rework, and wrong direction. And this phase alone can save a lot of, lot of efforts getting wasted because this is define is a phase where it describes the problem, very objectively. So if a problem is not defined objectively, it is, even after putting a lot of effort, the significant results cannot be driven. So measure phase now, okay, which is the second phase of the DMAP process. So now that the problem is defined, we move from opinions to numbers. And this is where the professionalism begins. So it basically measure phase, it tells us how big the problem really is. And it replaces words like I feel with data shows. Okay. That is where the green belt or the black belts, the importance of them comes into picture. Okay. So why it is important to measure? So when we walk into a meeting with data, people listen differently because data gives authority, it gives credibility, and it gives confidence as well. Okay. So rather than just putting an opinion, I feel, I do, right? If we are going with the data, people will listen to you, right? Even the management will listen to you. It is not only about the emotions, but something which is getting backed by the data, right? So what are the types of data what we have? They are generally, the data is divided into two types of data, right? One is called as a continuous data, which is like time, cost, weight, cycle time, and so on so forth, right? And the discrete data, like defects or no defect, pass or fail, right? So knowing this will decide, at a later point of time, what tool we need to use, right? Because there are some statistical tools which green belt and a black belt use, right? These the usage of the tools depend on the data. Okay. So the continuous data we may be using some kind of a tool, for discrete data some other kind of a tool. That is how it is. Data collection, right? Data collection plan or a measurement plan, right? So data collection is not a random thing, it is planned. We first decide what to measure, how to measure, and from where to measure. And wrong data, we know that it is very, very dangerous. It is more dangerous than having no data because it leads to wrong decisions. This is where the professional show discipline. So before trusting data, we must trust the measurement system. So if our measurement system is weak, our entire project is going to become weak. That is why Six Sigma always validates the measurement first. Process mapping. So process mapping is one of the best ways to clearly see how a process is actually working. It gives us high level picture of the entire flow. And once we see the flow, it becomes very easy to spot where things are slowing down, where work is getting stuck, and where capacity is getting limited. It also helps us identify the handoffs between the people and the teams. And most of the time, that's exactly where the problem starts. So delay, it occurs, and miscommunication usually happens during the handovers. We have seen that, right? So process mapping doesn't show us the process, but it also shows where the real problems are hiding. So that's why it is a very, very important tool in the measure phase to do the process mapping end to end, to identify what is going well, what needs improvement, and so on and so forth, so that we can easily identify where we can improve just looking at the process. So Six Sigma table, right? I'm quite sure most of you would have seen what is Six Sigma, right? So what does it mean basically, right? Like, there are Six Sigma means have basically six different uh, uh, you know six different current uh, defects what you are currently having per million opportunities. Say for example, the industry average is at the 3 sigma, where we say that around 67,000 defects we are getting per million opportunities. Okay. And that is the industry average right now. So 3 sigma. 4 sigma is above average. If a company or a process is at a 4 sigma, you are basically generating not more than 6210, 6210 defects per million opportunity. Uh, then if your processes are high performance, with a defect of around 233 defects per million opportunity, then you are at a 5 sigma level. And if you are at a world class level, you only produce 3.4 defects per million opportunities. Okay. So which essentially means that the success rate is almost like 100%, right? It is near perfection. And that is what the Six Sigma as a tool helps us to achieve. This is basically the formula for getting the DPMO, right? Defects per million opportunity. Defects is nothing but something which is basically a failure to meet the customer requirements found in the sample. Unit says, what is the number of items uh, or products which are getting processed or inspected, and the opportunities are the number of ways a defect could occur on a single unit, basically a complexity factor, right? So this is how we basically calculate the DPMO, which finally gets converted into sigma level. So just to tell you, 6,000 defects per million opportunities may say that you are at a 4 sigma level. Another tool concept is called as SPC. Okay, this is basically about keeping the process under control using data. So instead of waiting for defects to happen, we monitor the process continuously. And when we see abnormal patterns, we act before problems become big. Okay. So SPC, it helps us, with the information like, is the process stable? Is something changing? Do we need to intervene? And in simple words, SPC will help us to move from reaction to prevention. Okay, so and it also has something called as a control chart, which basically says, okay, whether the processes are in control, and there is a predictability. It also identifies whether some issue is happening because of the nature of the product, or there is something abnormal which is going on, right? Which is called as a special cause of variation. And for the one, if we identify that there is a special cause of variation, we should take appropriate action to take care of the specific, special cause of variation, because then your processes will become predictable in nature. Now we have defined what the problem is. We have seen how big, what is the problem, and now, uh, you know, what the problem is also defined. Now we have to find how big it is, right? Or why it is happening. Okay. So analyze phase is where Six Sigma becomes intelligent. We stop treating symptoms and start finding root causes. And without analyze, improvement basically becomes a trial and error, because it helps us with the root cause thinking. So root cause is not what we feel, it is about what the data proves. And when root cause is removed, the problem disappears permanently. So, analyze phase helps us with this. Everybody knows about Pareto principle, but just to tell you, right, what that 80-20 rule become is basically is that, as per Pareto, 80% of the problems come from 20% of the causes. And it helps us focus where it really matters, and this saves time, money, and effort. So say for example, we are spending a lot, equal amount of time in trying to solve each one of the issues, but the impact is not that much, right? So what we basically do is we redefine the problem statement and focus on top 20% of the real issues which matters a lot, right? It may add up to around 80% of the improvement, right? So if you work on 20% of the issues and still able to solve 80% of the problems for yourself, that is where the redefining of the problem statement helps. It basically helps us focus on something which is chosen few, right? Which has major impact, rather than spending time on everything and then solving very small problem or part of the problem for that matter. What is a fishbone diagram? So it is also called as a cause and effect diagram and Ishikawa diagram. So imagine we have a problem, say delayed deliveries. Okay. A fishbone diagram will help us bring down all the possible causes into categories like people, process, equipment, materials, environment, management, all this, right? And each bone, it represents a category, and we list potential causes under each. So, why do we use it? Because it shifts us from guessing to analyzing. Instead of just treating symptoms, we can identify root causes and focus our efforts where they truly matter. So, in short, fishbone diagram is a visual roadmap for a problem solving technique, which helps teams systematically explore causes and take action to prevent issues and not just fix them. So, you can see here in the slide, we have a problem statement, which is basically the effect, right? And the causes, high level, distinct causes can be like man, machine, method, material, measurement, environment, right? These can be the causes for this particular problem. And then we can put subcategories under all these problems. Say, for example, for man, we can say that, okay, training can be one of the cause for the issue, skills, fatigue, uh, under machine, maintenance is not happening or calibration needs to be done, right? That is not happening. That may result in the effect or the failure for that matter. Material, like supplier is not supplying right material, or a defective material is getting supplied, and our measurement system itself may or may not be right. The problem may be because of that, and then we drill down. We basically try to find, okay, why exactly it is happening. So this is a very, very powerful tool and very famous tool which we use for doing the uh, you know doing the root cause analysis at a high level. Another very famous tool for analysis is called as 5 why analysis. It is very simple, but very powerful way to find the real root cause of the problem. So instead of stopping at the first answer, where we keep on asking why, okay, we do this until we reach the actual reason for the problem. And most of the time, the first cause we see is only a symptom. The 5 why, it helps us go deeper and fix the problem permanently and not temporarily. So say for example, we have a iterative interrogation is what we do every time. Okay, why, we ask multiple times. Okay, just for this example what we are showing here, why the fuse blew, because of something, right? Why the motor got overloaded, because the bearing was not lubricated. Okay, why pump was not working, and we ask multiple questions, right, until we get to the root cause of it. Okay, this looks very simple, but it's very uh, it's most of the time we do not identify the root cause on time. Okay, we do not even get to the root cause because we stop at the symptom itself. And until the time a root cause is identified and addressed, it will tend to reoccur. Okay, the problem will tend to reoccur. If the problem is reoccurring, that essentially means that we have not identified the root cause correctly. That is where this tool, yet it looks very simple, it is very tough, and it requires a lot of brains to work together to get to the root cause of it. Okay, and if there are issues which keep on recurring even after we have closed the root cause, that essentially means we have not found the correct root cause. Another tool, and this becomes a little technical, is called as a hypothesis testing concept. So we do not say that, I think this is the cause. We basically say, let us test whether this is the cause. Okay. Uh, so this is basically the difference between the opinion and the proof. So statistics in Six Sigma is not a complicated mathematics, it's just a way of making confident decisions. And it helps us say that yes, this factor really impacts the problem, or no, this is not the this is only a coincidence. So basically, it has something called as a null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis, and a p-value logic. It basically says, okay, we state something as, okay, this is equal to this, just as an example, right, that the speed is equal to 34 kilometer per hour, right? And then with the data we collect some sample. We say that, okay, we collect, say for example, 5 sample, 5 different days. We try to find out, okay, what was the speed on the average. And then uh, and then with the data we prove whether the speed was actually 34 kilometers per hour on an average or no, right? So this is basically about stating a hypothesis and proving or not proving that the hypothesis was correct or no. Okay, so this is called as a null and alternate hypothesis or hypothesis testing concept. One very common thing which everybody talks about is, when to use which test. Okay. So what type of data do we have will basically determine what kind of test which we need to do. Okay. So if my data is in numbers like time, cost, cycle time, or quantity, then I am comparing performance. Okay. When I compare two situations, I use something called as a t-test. When I compare many situations, then I use ANOVA. When I compare before and after of the same process, then I use something called as a paired test. And when I want to know what is really driving the result, then I use regression. If my data is in categories like pass or fail, yes or no, defect or no defect, then I am comparing quality or behavior. When I compare defect percentages, I use proportion test. And when I see whether two things are connected, I used a chi-square test. So in simple language, for the numbers we use t-test, ANOVA, paired t-test, regression and all, right? And for categories we use the proportion test or the chi-square test. Now, even before we go to the improve phase, the analyze phase, basically we give it converts the confusion into clarity. So we move from guessing to knowing in this phase, and when this phase is strong, improvement becomes easy. In the improve phase, this is the phase everybody is looking at, okay, or waiting for, because now we know exactly what to fix. And this is where the real change starts, and this is where the organization looks at putting a project, means investing in a project. Okay. So improve phase is not about the random changes, it is about smart, focused, data-backed solution. And we improve only what truly matters and not everything. Okay. One of the ways to find solutions is brainstorming. Okay. It is basically about thinking beyond the usual way of working. And for that, we use simple techniques that push our thinking in new directions. One is called as scamper. Scamper basically means we challenge the process by asking, can we substitute something? Can we combine steps? Can we adapt a better way? Can we modify or simplify? Can we eliminate waste? Can we rearrange the flow? So it forces us to look at the same processes differently and come up with the smarter ideas. Second one is mind mapping. Here we put the problem in the center and let ideas branch out naturally. So it helps team think freely and visually, and you can start seeing connections that you normally miss in normal discussions. The third one is benchmarking. This is where we ask, how are the best companies doing it? Instead of reinventing everything, we learn from proven practices, and it shows us what is possible and it raises our standards. So, in simple words, Scamper, it helps us challenge the process. Mind mapping helps us expand the thinking, and benchmarking helps us learn from the best. So we have found a lot of a lot of solutions through brainstorming. Which one to implement? Okay. So here in solution generation, we basically generate solutions that directly attack the root causes, and we do not look for the shortcuts and no temporary fixes, and only permanent solutions. Say, for example, we do a pilot testing and we never roll out changes blindly. We test them on a small scale first. Okay. So it helps us saves money, risk, and reputation as well. Pilot. Okay. So that's where we do a pilot deployment first to check if we are getting the intended results or no. And rather than putting a lot of effort and doing the solution, big bang, we go phase by phase. We see if the improvement is actually making sense, if we are not getting a lot of backlash, because of change management, or because of a lot of risk associated with the project, if there are the cost is actually on the higher side, all this, right? So pilot helps us with negating all the negatives, right, of implementing a solution. It basically helps us with getting into big bang and then rolling back. So solutions are basically selected based on the ease of the implementation, less cost, and how much impact it has, and lower risk it entails. And the solutions with less risk and cost and has high impact and ease of implementations are preferable. So we should look at something which doesn't involve more cost, which is impactful, which can be implemented at ease, and which has less risk. Okay, so those processes or solutions are basically prioritized over the ones where we have lesser chance of uh, you know getting the real solutions implemented. Okay, or less of change management is required there. Another tool is called as a FMEA, or failure mode and effect analysis, which is again uh, can be termed in terms of RPN. Okay, it basically tells us what risk we should worry about first. So in any process, there are many possible failures, but not all failures are equally dangerous. Okay, because RPN will help us prioritize. RPN is based on three simple questions. First of all, how serious is the problem if it happens, which is called as severity. Secondly, how often is it likely to happen, which is called as occurrence. And the third, how easily can we detect it before it reaches the customer? This is called as detection. So we give a score to each one and then multiply it. So RPN for that matter is nothing but the multiplication factor between the severity, occurrence, and detection. So in business language, high severity basically means big impact. High occurrence means it happens often. And poor detection means we may not catch it in time. So when RPN is high, it means that this risk can hurt us badly and it can happen often and we may not even notice it. That is the risk we fix first. So RPN is nothing but a smart way of saying that let's focus our time and money on the problems that can damage the business the most. This helps us redefine the problem or where to focus on. It basically helps us narrow down onto the problems which we need to focus on. Okay. Then there is another concept called as Pokayoke. So Pokayoke, it simply means mistake proofing. So it is about designing the process in such a way that mistakes either cannot happen, or if they happen, they are caught immediately. So instead of telling people to be more careful, we make the process smarter. For example, we would have seen in our phones, right? A SIM card, it can only fit in one way. We have seen the USB cables, right? It goes in only in the correct direction. And there can be a form, right? Like a Google form that cannot be submitted if mandatory fields are empty. That is called as a Pokayoke in daily life. Okay. In business, it basically means we don't depend on memory. We don't depend on attention. We depend on design. Pokayoke, it reduces a lot of human errors, rework, customer complaints. It helps us, in simple words, it helps us in about building the quality into the process, so that doing the wrong thing becomes difficult and doing the right things become automatic. That is what Pokayoke means. Now, coming to the last phase of the project, but before that, summarizing the improve phase. Improve phase converts the analysis into results. This is where the management starts noticing you, because now your work shows measurable impact. Okay. In the control phase, we uh, we basically separate this phase actually helps us separate the average performance from the true professionals. So anyone can improve a process, but they can do it only once. But only professionals can make sure it never goes back. That is about the discipline of the control phase. It is about the ownership and it is about the sustainability. This is where the improvement becomes a habit and not an event. So it is all about sustenance. Now, in the control phase, there is something called as a control plan, right? We basically lock the improvement, okay? We create standards here. We define the monitoring method and we assign responsibility as well. So if If there is a performance which slips, we can catch it early. If the deviation starts, we act immediately. Control is what converts success into culture. And without control, improvement is just a temporary celebration because it has a chance that it will go back to the usual old method. That is where the control phase can have a significant value. It has a significant value. Okay. So once all these five stages are done, then the process should become business as usual or BAU, right? Here is where the project transition plan helps. A project transition plan is about making sure that the improvements don't die after the project ends. It basically clearly defines who will own the process, what needs to be monitored, how performance will be checked, and what actions to take if things go wrong. So, and it helps us ensure that the responsibility moves smoothly from the project team to the process owner. In simple words, a transition plan it makes sure that today's success become the tomorrow's standard. So whatever we have defined, measured, analyzed, improved, and controlled is sustained through a project transition plan where the entire benefit and controls of the project which has been delivered is given to the process owner who has to ensure that all the benefits or all the changes in the process, the to be processes and all, right? And the controls are sustained and becomes business as usual. So summarizing, each phase of the DMAC must be formally reviewed before we move to the next one. This is called as a gate review. Okay. So each of the phases, after we complete each of the phases, we sit with the project sponsor and the key stakeholders and review the deliverables. Only when they sign off, we proceed further. This actually helps us with two things. First of all, are we moving in the right direction? Okay, because if we are not moving in the right direction, we'll get caught there. Okay, and then is the business aligned with the project? These two questions get answered in each of the phase gate reviews. So every DMAC phase has clearly defined deliverables, and these act like a checkpoint, and they guide us on what must be completed, what quality is expected, and whether we are ready to move ahead. In simple words, DMAG runs like a stage gate process and no phase is passed without validation. Very important concept is storyboard preparation. Okay. Which basically is the crux of what we have done so far, right? In a presentable format. So a project storyboard is basically a complete story of your Six Sigma project on a few structured slides. It shows what the problem was, why it mattered to the business, what data we collected, what we found, what we improved, and how we controlled it. So think of it like a movie trailer of your project, but for management. So anyone who looks at the storyboard should immediately understand the business impact, your thinking process, your professionalism, and so on and so forth. And also, it is used to review projects with the sponsors. It is used to present to leadership. It will support your certification if you are looking for one. And it will showcase your capability. So, in simple words, the storyboard is basically a proof that you didn't just learn Six Sigma, you actually applied it and delivered results. So Six Sigma, it gives you three powerful career advantages. Okay. First is the resume value. Second is the interview readiness. And third is the promotion support. So resume value, how it helps is that, Six Sigma adds immediate weight to your profile. It shows that you are not just an executor, but a structured problem solver who can deliver measurable business results. And your resume stops looking ordinary and starts looking professional and impactful. Secondly, interview readiness. In interviews, most people talk theory. Six Sigma professionals talk impact. You can explain what problem you solved, how you use data, what improvement you delivered, and what business benefit you created. That makes you confident, clear, and different from others. Third is the promotion support. Promotions are given to people who create value, not just do work. Okay. Six Sigma gives you proof of value when you show cost savings, efficiency improvement, or quality enhancement. Your growth becomes logical, not negotiable. So, in simple terms, Six Sigma strengthens your resume, sharpens your interviews, and supports your promotions. So, today we did not just learn about DMAC, we experienced how professionals think. You saw how problems are defined clearly, measured with data, analyzed with logic, improved with intelligence, and controlled with discipline. Now it is our decision to move forward. In 6 months, we'll either be solving the same problems in the same way, or we'll be certified professionals solving problems with confidence and structure. Again, Six Sigma is not about certificate, it is about becoming a professional that organizations trust. I will say thank you for your time. And if you're serious about upgrading your career, this is the right moment to take action. Now I'll be opening for a Q&A and I'll be stopping to share. Give me a moment, please. You all tell me whether you are able to speak. In the chat at least. Start with that chat questions. We can take other questions. Also, I would request you to share your feedback on this class here. Just 1 second. Put your questions on chat, please. Now I think you can unmute yourself. Can you try, please?
Yes, Abhijit, I can unmute.
Yeah.
So,
Vanilla.
yeah. So, thank you. Thanks for the session. It was, I'm a very total newbie, but it was useful to understand the process.
Mm-hmm.
One small query. Say, for
Mm-hmm.
example, Six Sigma,
Mm-hmm.
whenever, they speak, they talk in millions, right?
Right.
Million parts only, so much part will be lesser with that.
Mm-hmm.
But my doubt is, I know many small and medium scale companies, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
don't produce millions, but they do produce machineries, some
Mm-hmm.
engineering machineries. That is only like monthly they produce 10 or 12 machines.
Mm-hmm.
Or in some cases they produce very big machines. It takes almost 3 months to complete it, one machine.
Right.
So in cases, will this be applicable? This kind of, I
Yes, yes.
mean,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That's a very nice question, Nalla. So, Nalla, it is not about measuring the business impact in terms of millions. Okay. It is about solving a problem structurally which may impact the your business, okay, or your customer's business for that matter, right? So it is not about the scale of the problem, but definitely that also has some significance in terms of the value which it brings on the table. So it is only basically about the cost benefit analysis. Okay, how much you are spending versus how much you are getting back. Okay, so if you are spending in terms of the resource, time, the cost or something, are you actually able to measure the benefit coming out of it or no? Okay, so not about millions per se, but identifying and resolving the issues permanently. That is the main objective of a Six Sigma project. It can be used that way.
okay. Thank you.
Any questions from others or from you, Nalla, again?
Yeah, I'm good, Abhijit. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. So, team, I have, we will wait here any which ways. If you have any questions, you can ping me separately. I have already given my number, right, through which the invite was sent. I would also like to see your feedback based on today's session first. And secondly, I would also announce when we are going to start this Six Sigma Green Belt training full-fledged. Basis your availability, we can, define the dates when we can have it. Okay. So, any question from you, Rajesh, Rashpal? I don't know who has joined from
Yeah,
uh,
can you
Samsung.
hear me?
Rajesh, sorry.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, very feeble voice. If you can be a little wide, louder, please.
Now is it okay?
Yeah, yeah, you're right, right, Raj.
No, just want to check, like, you're mentioning about the training for Six
Hmm.
Sigma. Like, is it over the, how does that happen generally? Like, is it over the weekend? So,
Yeah, yeah, it will be over the weekend. I'm yet to schedule. I'm going to schedule it in the month of February only, Rajesh.
mm,
Okay. Yeah, so it will be over the weekend. 4 hours is what we need to invest either on a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on everybody's availability. We'll do it for 4 weeks. It will be for 4 weeks, and then we'll have some certification criteria which needs to be taken care of. Once that is done, right?
mm.
The criteria is fulfilled, the certificate will also be given.
Okay, like, is it more like practical oriented? I mean, you take an
Yeah,
example.
it will be a practical oriented. It will be more of a, from working professionals perspective. The course design is for the working professionals. It will not be very technical, but very practical, right? And also, I would rather suggest if we can identify one project within your organization, right, where you can, where you want to implement this Six Sigma project, right, while the training is going on, we can leverage our expertise around that and help complete that as well, so that it basically doesn't give you only uh, the theoretical knowledge, but the practical implementation as well. Okay. So that will actually help you use all the tools and techniques in the live project. It will help you, uh, bring that measurable impact to the business as well.
Understood. Understood. Could you tell like what is the general fee structure? The various courses, the green is the one starting one, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Green is the one which is starting, and see, most of the people are basically green belt certified. Okay, black belt is more of a organization level projects what we do, right? Which is more of a technical one, right? But green belt will also give you some technical tools to work with, right? We'll equip with you with that, and that is a good enough start. And if you want to make a career out of Six Sigma, definitely black belt is the next level which we should be looking at. But green level, just to answer you, green belt level projects are, very well defined projects. It gives you a lot of visibility as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay. I don't know who has joined from Samsung SM 5 to 6B. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Rajesh. Just and the team here, if you can give your feedback, right, about how this is done and then how you want to proceed with that. Do get in touch with me. My mobile number is already there with the WhatsApp, and also we can define on the next steps. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a nice day. Nice Sunday ahead.